Dear Karen, I have a question for your Ask Me Anything segment. I recently changed jobs and inherited a team. I was brought in to change things in the department, and my new team has a different culture than the one I would like to instill in my team. What are some of the tips to tweak the team culture without alienating my new team? Wow, great question from a leader in Coppell, Texas, and a great question for anyone to ask that's got a new team. And leading by design, using the innovative principles of design thinking are a great way to tackle this leadership challenge. Okay, let's get right to it. Answering this question from our new manager. So, leading by design, using the innovative principles of design thinking is an excellent way for leaders to engage their new teams, to cast the vision for what it is they want to accomplish, and then begin to understand their employees needs, and really see where the leaders and the organization's value meets the employees' needs, and then the value that the employees bring to meet the needs of the leader and ultimately the needs of the team. So I won't go through every step of leading by design, but I want to talk about two in particular because as a new manager, these are the most crucial ones because they set the stage. And the first is casting that vision. And I'm not talking about some I have a dream speech here. I'm talking about you getting clear, maybe on a piece of paper in a Word document, what your vision is, what it is you're trying to accomplish. And for this particular manager, it happened to be she was a project manager and things were not as organized as they needed to be in order to meet their deadlines and to get to their work done. So her vision initially is getting a more organized structure, a more flow, so that the team can work together and get jobs out and on time, which is an important part for any of us leading projects these days. So my first tip was to get clear on the vision. If you can, boil it down to one word, and their word was organized. But once you are clear on that vision, what does it look like? Almost write it in a story to yourself of what it's going to sound like, what it's going to look like, how is everybody acting, what is everybody saying. And once you're clear on what it is you want to see happen, then boil it down to a sentence or a word if you can. Because this is what you're going to take and go into your user interviews with, the user interviews are for or with your employees or your team members. So tip number one, get a clear vision, boil it down to a word if you can, and then do what we call in design thinking the how might we statements, and that is put that word or that sentence into a question. So in this instance, it would be, how might we become more organized? And so she can take that question, that vision of what she sees organization to mean and to be for her team, and the culture she wants to create around that, to the user interviews. So conduct user interviews, and here you really want to get an understanding of where they're at, what page they're on. So you're taking that question, how might we become a more organized team? And so you begin to have interviews with each of your employees. What does organization look like to you? Tell me of a time when you have been a part of a team that's very organized. What was happening on that team? What wasn't happening on that team? How would you have made it better? Maybe tell me of a time when you were with a team that was not organized. How did that affect the team? What did that look like? So really dig deep into the question, because what you'll find is their idea of organization as individual employees and yours as a manager may not be exactly the same. And so there's some opportunities there to communicate your vision, your thoughts on that. There's also, when you're doing those user interviews and you're asking them, what works, what doesn't work, how can we make it better, you can engage them on, okay, these are your ideas on how we can make it better. What excites you about that? Is there any particular task or concept around that you would really enjoy making happen for our team? So then you can tap into their strengths, make them feel like they're contributing. So the empathy phase for leading by design, where the user interviews happen with your team, do a lot of things for you. They build trust, they build communications. You're empathizing with their needs by listening to them. You're identifying gaps in understanding, so you'll know how to close those gaps in the coming weeks. You're observing them. You're really getting on the same page with them as to what the vision is and how it looks to get there. And you get everybody pointed in the right direction. So that would be my advice as a new manager of a team, is to sit down with yourself and get a clear vision of what it is you're trying to create with your team. And don't leave your superior out of this either. If you are a mid-level manager or even a frontline manager, talk to them about, this is the vision I see for my new team. What about that is important to you? Because ultimately, what you accomplish, you want to accomplish on his needs, his goals. So having that conversation with him before you go and have that conversation with your employees is also beneficial. But that would be my tips. Get clear on your vision, boil it down to a word if you can, turn it into a how might we statement, and then begin the interview process where you talk to each and every employee and get their scoop on what that means to them, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, how they want to make the team that is there better. And you'll be off and running to creating a new culture and a new dynamic in your team based on trust and empathy. So there you have it, our first Ask Me Anything segment. Now it's your turn. What's your question about design thinking and how you can apply those principles to leadership and innovation within your organization? Please be sure and like and subscribe this video. Share it with the new managers in your life to get them started on the right path. And tune in to next time for Ask Karen Anything.